everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucy and in today's video I am filming my autumn book recommendations. So if you are new to my channel, you may not know, autumn is my favourite season ever. Just the coldness, the crispness, the kind of autumn leaves, just the whole kind of coziness this season brings makes it my all-time favourite season. And I just get mega inspired to just do all the videos this time of year. I don't know about, you know, you guys, if you have a booktube channel, is there a particular season that you find yourself more inspired? Because for me, it's definitely autumn. And I'm delighted to be bringing you a seasonal book recommendations video all about the spooky, cozy, atmospheric books that are perfect for this time of year. Especially as we have Halloween coming up, I wanted to especially make this video a little bit more kind of on the atmospheric, darker end. And I am a fan of all of these books so much. A few of them are my all-time favorites. So without further ado, let's crack on with my autumn book recommendations. Okay, so my first recommendation is a book I've recently finished and I just can't believe it took me so long to read this book. It is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So, of course, I think this is quite an obvious choice for autumn book recommendations, but as I've just finished this and fell in love with it, I felt the need to just talk to you guys about it because this book is so atmospheric and actually some of the scenes are set in autumn. So this really does make sense to read this time of year. So if you're unfamiliar with what The Night Circus is about, The Night Circus is about this incredible, amazing, mysterious circus that only kind of appears at night. It comes and goes without warning. Nobody knows where it's going to go next. And basically at the center of the circus are two people who are basically bound together. From a very young age, both of them know that they are competing against each other in this kind of like magical illusionist competition. Neither of them knows the rules about this competition. All they know is that they have to basically show off their feats of magic, and the circus is the venue for this kind of magical competition. Of course, this is a love story at its heart. This is a breathtaking, epic love story, and honestly, like, there's so many incredible elements of this book. Like, it's not just a love story, it's also a story of belonging, a story of magic, a story of mystery, and just, you know, really kind of like feeling at home somewhere. And that's what this circus represents to so many people. So this is the perfect autumn read because, as I mentioned, it is so sensory. So the descriptions of the circus, when you go in there, you know, you can smell the kind of crisp apple, you can smell the sweet caramel, you can smell the kind of crisp autumn leaves underfoot. It's just very, very enchanting and really, really rich and evocative language. So if you want a cozy, dark, atmospheric, but really kind of like cozy, I guess, yeah, it's just a cozy read, then this is the book for you. And I would urge you all, if you haven't yet read it, please do read it. I basically was super late to the party. I only finished this a few weeks ago. And you know what? Even though there's so much hype around The Night Circus, I think it really deserves that hype. So I would urge you all to read this one. Okay, so the next book is also a recent read of mine. And I knew when I finished it, I was like, I have to include this in a book recommendations video because I fell in love with it. I gave it 5 stars. I was obsessed. It is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Maherin. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. Hopefully I'm not butchering it there. This book is a very special book and I see that it's gotten a lot of talk on BookTube about this book. This is a very kind of traditional fantasy romance book, which I personally love to read at this time of year because there is something about romance which I just feel is really cozy, perfect for autumn, but equally the fantasy element always brings a kind of darker element to the romance story. And I love a dark romance, and this is no exception. So Serpent and Dove follows a woman called Lou, who is a witch, and she is basically on the run from something. She is basically acting as a thief in this big city called Cesarine, not sure how you pronounce that name, but anyway, basically the world is a kind of like French inspired fantasy world where it's basically like a pseudo France, I think. Anyway, so Lou bumps into this man called Reed, and Reed is something called a chasseur, and chasseurs are essentially witch hunters, and they are there to eradicate the threat of magic from Cesarine, whatever it's called. Anyway, so then Reed and Lou have this chance encounter where they basically meet and they are forced to get married. Again, another amazing trope. I love a forced or arranged marriage trope in a romance book. It's perfect. And Reed has no idea that he has married a witch. And this is a very kind of forbidden love, I guess, because of course they are what each other hate, you know? So Reed hates witches. He is really kind of stuck in his ways that magic is evil. And Lou, of course, knows that if Reed found out her true nature, she would be killed, you know, instantly. But despite all the odds, they fall in love, and this book is just magical. It is dark. It is actually quite gritty and very, very dark, but it is just so wonderful. It is so evocative. It is addictive, and the reason I think this is perfect autumnal reading is because, again, some of the scenes are actually set in autumn. Like, this book takes place over autumn into winter. So you can kind of, as the plot thickens and as like the stakes get higher, the weather turns cooler, and it's just very evocative. And as this is a dark book in terms of, you know, the kind of plot that's going on, and, you know, Lou being a witch and trying to run away from her past, a lot of darkness comes out of that, and this just makes for a dark, delicious read on an autumnal night. Okay, so the next book is also a book that I read earlier on this year, and I just think is the most perfect book for autumn because it is dark, dark, dark. And it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So this is a thriller, and I'm sure you will have all heard of this book or probably read it because it is a super popular book just in general. It's basically like a modern classic, you know? It was a huge bestseller, and this basically, I would say, is one of the key books that define the dark academia trend. So dark academia is all about, you know, usually it's set in an academic setting, so a university, and basically it's about a darkness that happens there. So, you know, kind of very usually fixated on the classics or something like that. So this book is no exception. This book is set at a very prestigious New England college and focuses on a group of classic students. So The Secret History follows a man called Richard, and Richard gets accepted into this very elite school, as I said. He is from a very kind of like middle class background, I guess. He is not from an academic or, you know, elite background, but basically he wants to study classics, and he joins this very exclusive classics kind of group who are all led by their very elusive professor. And this professor really pushes them to explore the boundaries of what life is. Basically, he pushes them into kind of this ancient Greek thought process, I guess. So basically, Richard falls in with this group, which is kind of led by this very mysterious man called Henry. And basically, a lot of morality is at play here. They do a lot of things that are very questionable in order to kind of stretch their minds and broaden their horizons. But at the heart of this story is a mystery and also a murder. You find out from the very, very first page that someone has been murdered and there is a cover-up involved. This is everything you'd like in an autumnal book. There is the kind of spookiness, the kind of mystery element. You know, there are times when this book gets very, very dark, you know, like the themes are extremely dark. There's enough mystery to keep you guessing, but equally, because it's set at this very kind of prestigious elite school and it's in New England and it's very atmospheric, you can kind of sense the atmosphere there, you know, that it is very elite, it's very prestigious, it's very academic, and there's something about that which is really, really cozy as well. So I really enjoyed reading The Secret History. I actually really do think it lives up to the hype, and I would recommend this book to everyone if you want a very cozy but dark thriller to read this autumn. The next book I'd like to recommend for my autumn reading is something a bit different, and this is actually a graphic novel which I recommend every single time autumn comes around. It is Pumpkinheads by Faith Erin Hicks and Rainbow Rowell. So Rainbow Rowell is the author of many, many books: Carry On, Fangirl, Eleanor and Park. But this book is actually a graphic novel, and the art is done by Faith Erin Hicks. So this book is basically about two people who every year work at their local pumpkin patch. And they are currently in school, but next year they actually go off to college. So they kind of see this time that they both spend working at this pumpkin patch as a very special time in their friendship, because they don't really see each other outside of that time period. So Halloween is kind of like the pinnacle of their friendship. They know that they'll get to see each other then. This is also a love story because, you know, they both know that they're going off to college, and yet they want to make this kind of season very special. They want to declare their, you know, their feelings for each other. So this is just a lot of fun, but also so sweet and so autumnal. So just like look at the art, like this is just amazing. And honestly, I love this book. It makes me feel very cozy. It makes me feel very autumnal each year because it's obviously set at this kind of pumpkin patch, this Halloween festival, I guess. There are all the traditional, very American, I must say, but all the kind of traditional things you think of around autumn and Halloween. So there's kind of like candy corn, there are hay mazes, there are s'mores, there are, you know, loads of things. Obviously pumpkin carving, pumpkin patches. It's just amazing, and it's so sweet. So I really would recommend this if you are after a very quick graphic novel to read this season and you want something that's going to give you an injection of coziness and autumn vibes. This book is the perfect one for you. Now, my next recommendation is another very dark fantasy romance-esque read. Again, I read a lot of fantasy this time of year, so this really is like the best of the dark fantasy right now. So this book I'm holding up is actually a proof copy. It is a proof copy of Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. So this book took my heart last autumn. It is so dark, so delicious, so bloody good. I cannot. This is basically about a woman called Amelia who is a witch. You can sense the theme here with the kind of like fantasy romance witch stories, but it's perfect. Anyway, Amelia's sister gets brutally murdered and she finds her body, and Amelia is hell-bent on revenge. She wants to find out who did this. She wants to uncover this murder. She wants to find out why Victoria, her sister, kind of was doing some dark magic, it seems, before her death. So Amelia has to team up with her mortal enemy. From a young age, Amelia is taught you must never consort with the 7 princes of hell because they will trick you and, you know, they are your worst enemy. They will kill witches. And Amelia has no choice but to join forces with Wrath, who is one of the princes of hell, to help uncover this mystery and solve the mystery of who is the killer of her sister. So this is very dark. As I've said, most of these books are dark, but this is even darker. This is super spooky, super mysterious. It's set in kind of like 1600s Italy, I think, so it is quite, it's obviously historical fiction, so I would really recommend this. And the second book in this series actually comes out this autumn as well. When I'm filming this, it's October, so, you know, it's coming out this month, which I am hyped for. Honestly, one of my most anticipated sequels of this year. So I can't wait for Kingdom of the Cursed. And if this sounds up your street, I definitely would check out Kingdom of the Wicked for a spooky, autumnal, dark read. And finally, I wanted to recommend something that is very dark, but also very beautiful and definitely made me feel really cozy. So this is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. This is such a beautiful book, oh my god, and there was a lot of hype for this when it got released last year, I remember. But if you've never read this book and you're intrigued by it, then I 100% would recommend this book. The Invisible Life of Addie Larue is about Addie Larue, who at a young age is forced to marry. You know, that's kind of what is done in her time. She's living in 1400s France, and the expectation is you have to settle down, you have to get married. Addie really doesn't want to do this, so she makes a deal with the devil, essentially, and he says, okay, I will give you all the time in the world to do whatever you want, but there is a catch, and the catch is that Addie will never be remembered. So people will speak to her and they will instantly forget she ever existed. As you can tell, this will cause a lot of problems. So this is an extremely epic, extremely kind of broad book that follows Addie through the ages up until present day. I think it's set towards the end in like 2014. And in the present day, she meets this man called Henry. I think his name's Henry. And the wonderful thing about Henry is that he remembers her. And this is the start of an incredible love story. Very, very epic. And I think this book also surprises me because it's not what I thought it would be, in the sense that like, I thought it would just be a happy ending, a very like amazing love story, but there are a lot of catches to this book, and there is a figure, this demon, this kind of devil who she makes the bargain with, called Luke. And he is this figure throughout this entire book that brings a certain darkness to Addie's character and to the novel in general. He kind of watches over her like a spectre, and he often provides the more darker moments. And this book does get quite dark, like it is a very harrowing tale at times. But I think this book is perfect for autumn because it's really, really atmospheric and it will make you really think, but also it's just very, very cozy as Addie goes through the years and has to put up with this curse that she's living under. So if you want something quite gothic, quite dark, but also will make you think and also is just very unique, I really would recommend The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. So guys, those are my autumn book recommendations. I hope there's been something here that you are interested in and that will inspire you to pick up a book this season. And do let me know your autumn book recommendations down in the comments below, because I would love to hear all your recommendations. Just give me all the books you think are perfect for this time of year. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, why not consider subscribing and also giving this video a thumbs up, as it really helps my channel out. Thank you again so much, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye.